Hi, I'm Lisa. Let's learn some advanced English words from the newspaper. Do you know the meanings of the verbs to sizzle or to abate? These words are used in a recent New York Times article about the economy. And do you know the expression through the roof? The sentence said, consumer demand was through the roof. I will also teach you the meaning of that expression plus many more. And then at the end of the video, I will show you a list of the words that you just learned. And that way you can test yourself to see if you remember them. We will also practice pronunciation. I will give you a chance to repeat the sentences of the article after I say them so that you can practice saying them with the good, clear American accent. My goal with these videos is to help you express yourself in English on a wide variety of topics, whether it's psychology or the economy or various world events. I want you to go from advanced, where you are today, to truly fluent. One way to know that you've reached true fluency in English is when you're able to understand the vocabulary and the expressions in newspaper articles. This article was published on October 3rd. It talks about the changes that are happening in the job market. Last year, there were many jobs available. It was really easy to find a job. Companies were increasing salaries, and they were even offering bonuses when people first started working for the company. But things are changing. They are slowing down. The article is titled, Less Turnover, Smaller Raises. Hot job market may be losing its sizzle. Let's look at the words turnover and sizzle. Turnover is usually related to employee turnover, and that means the total number of workers who leave a company over a certain time period. They either quit or they get fired. And in this case, it means that fewer employees are quitting their jobs. We often use it this way: low turnover rate or high turnover rate. We can say, the company's turnover rate is high. Or, that company has a much lower turnover rate than its competitors. And that means the employees are staying at the company longer. Let's listen to how some other people use the word turnover.
Decreased employee turnover saves money for training.
Our turnover rate for full-time regular employees is 7%.
Let's look at the word sizzle. Sizzle is both a noun and a verb. It's the sound you hear when food is frying. You can say, I hear the sizzle of the bacon. Or we can use it as a verb. The bacon began to sizzle in the pan. So, hot job market may be losing its sizzle means it's not as easy as before to find jobs. The job market is not as hot as it used to be. Let's look at the subheading of the article. And by the way, this is a subheading. It's under the title. It says, unemployment is low and hiring is strong, but there are signs that frenzied turnover and rapid wage growth are abating. Let's look at the word frenzied. Frenzied means wild, uncontrolled, excited. So frenzied turnover is very high in uncontrolled turnover. Frenzied is an adjective, and frenzy is a noun, and that means great excitement or wild behavior that often results from losing control of your feelings, or panic, or uncontrolled excitement. We often say, in a frenzy. The house is a mess, and the children are in a frenzy. You probably know the meaning of the word wage. It means salary, how much money you make at work. So rapid wage growth means fast salary increases. Let's look at the verb to abate. It means to reduce, to lessen, or to become less intense. So frenzied turnover and rapid wage growth are abating means that things are slowing down. Things are changing. The job market is not so intense anymore. People's salaries are not increasing as fast as before. We can use abate this way. We can say, the storm finally abated, or the fire began to abate. Nothing could abate his anger. We are trying to abate the noise in the neighborhood. Let's look at that sentence again. I will read it and I will pause to give you a chance to repeat. Unemployment is low and hiring is strong. But there are signs that the frenzied turnover and rapid wage growth are abating. Let's look at the next paragraph. Last year, Klossner Home Furnishings was so desperate for workers that it began renting billboards near its headquarters in Asheboro, North Carolina, to advertise job openings. And by the way, the NC stands for North Carolina. The steep competition for labor drove wages for employees on the furniture maker's production floor up 12 to 20%. The company began offering $1,000 signing bonuses to sweeten the deal. You probably know what a billboard is, but in case you don't, here's an image of a billboard. It's a big sign to advertise something outdoors. The article talks about a furniture company that used a billboard to look for employees. That's how desperate they were. Let's look at steep competition. Do you know what steep means? Steep is word 105 in my online course, 400 Advanced Words You Must Know for Fluent English. Let's listen to the way I explain it in the course. The next word is steep. Steep. And steep means set at a high angle, a sharp slope. But we also use steep when something is very expensive. When the price is unreasonably high, we say it's steep. I was exhausted after climbing the steep hill. Make sure the B is silent in the word climbing. Let's say that again. I was exhausted after climbing the steep hill. You must be a very experienced skier to ski down such a steep mountain. Let's say the word mountain again. Mountain. Mountain. You must be a very experienced skier to ski down such a steep mountain. And now let's use the word steep in the other meaning when something is very expensive. The steep price at the private club was set so only rich people could join. The steep price at the private club was set so only rich people could join. The course consists of 7 hours of video instruction, plus downloadable audio of the whole course so that you can listen anywhere. There are also downloadable PDFs of all the words in additional sentences so that you can practice using them in different contexts. Plus, there are quizzes along the way to test your progress. And you can get the 400 Advanced Words course on my website, AccurateEnglish.com. And by the way, the words in that course come from my list of words that I created over the years when I was teaching advanced English courses. We were reading newspaper articles in the classroom, and these are the words that many of my advanced students didn't know the meaning of. Go to AccurateEnglish.com to learn more about the course. All right, let's get back to our article. So steep competition for labor means intense competition. Last year, there was steep competition because many companies were competing with each other to find employees, but things are changing. Let's look at the next expression. It's a phrasal verb, to drive up, to drive something up. And that means to cause something to increase rapidly. So steep competition drove wages up. Companies needed to pay employees more. To drive up is a phrasal verb. It's both separable and inseparable, so you can use it in 2 different ways. We can say, inflation is driving prices up. You can separate the verb from the preposition. Or you can say, inflation is driving up prices. In this case, we didn't separate the verb from the preposition. Be careful about phrasal verbs. They can be tricky. Some of them are inseparable. For example, we can say, I ran into John, but we can't say I ran John into. Let's go back to the phrasal verb to drive up. Here are some more sample sentences. We can say the bank drove up interest rates. Or what is driving up oil prices? Let's look at the expression to sweeten the deal. That means to make a financial transaction or business deal more attractive. The sentence said the company began offering $1,000 signing bonuses to sweeten the deal. The companies were sweetening the deal by giving new employees $1,000 when they got hired. Let's listen to how some other people used sweeten the deal.
Maybe a bottle of champagne to sweeten the deal.
And we're willing to throw in a couple thousand extra to sweeten the deal. It's a very generous offer.
Let's read the paragraph again. I will pause so that you have a chance to repeat and practice your pronunciation. Last year, Klausner Home Furnishings was so desperate for workers that it began renting billboards near its headquarters in Asheboro, North Carolina, to advertise job openings. The steep competition for labor drove wages for employees on the furniture maker's production floor up 12 to 20%. The company began offering $1,000 signing bonuses to sweeten the deal. Let's look at the next paragraph to learn more expressions. Consumer demand was through the roof, said David Cebulski, Klausner's president and chief executive. We just couldn't get enough labor fast enough. But in recent months, Mr. Cebulski has noticed that frenzy die down. Let's look at the expression through the roof. We can say to be through the roof or to go through the roof. And that means to rise to a high level, to reach unexpected heights. Usually it's used for prices. We can say gasoline prices have gone through the roof recently, or sales of those cars went through the roof. Inflation is going through the roof. Let's look at the phrasal verb to die down. It means to gradually become less strong, to become quieter or less intense, to become less powerful or less noisy or less active. We can say, the storm is finally starting to die down. When the applause died down, he began his speech. The party didn't die down until 2 o'clock in the morning. Let's look at the paragraph again. Repeat after me. Consumer demand was through the roof, said David Cebulski, Klausner's president and chief executive. We just couldn't get enough labor fast enough. But in recent months, Mr. Cebulski has noticed that frenzy die down. Let's look at the next sentence, and let's look at the way the words frozen and altogether are used in the following sentences. Major employers such as Walmart and Amazon have announced slowdowns in hiring. Others, such as FedEx, have frozen hiring altogether. Let's look at the verb to freeze. I'm sure you know the meaning of the verb to freeze. Freeze, froze, frozen. When liquid turns to ice, it freezes. But in this case, freeze has another meaning. It means to hold something at a fixed level. We don't increase it. People often talk about freezing salaries or freezing prices. You can say, that company has frozen salaries. That means the salaries are not going to increase. And if a company freezes hiring, they will not hire any more people. They have stopped hiring. Altogether means completely. Be careful, it's spelled as one word. It's not altogether, it's altogether. And that means totally, completely. We can say, I've stopped eating sugar altogether. Or, he hasn't been altogether honest with us. The noise died down at 2 a.m., but then it stopped altogether at 3 a.m. So they have frozen hiring altogether means they've completely stopped hiring people. They don't need any more workers. All right, let's read the sentence again. Repeat after me. Major employers such as Walmart and Amazon have announced slowdowns in hiring. Others, such as FedEx, have frozen hiring altogether. Let's look at one more paragraph so that I can teach you the final expression. And after that, I will give you a little quiz to see how many of the words you remember. I think the tables are turning a little bit, Mr. Mashuri said. There are people who need to pay their bills and are realizing there might not be a million jobs out there. The expression, the tables are turning, is also commonly said, the tables have turned. And that means the situation has changed. It's the opposite of what it used to be. The situation is completely reversed. It's commonly used when the roles between two people have reversed. When someone goes from a weaker position to a stronger position. We can say, he was my boss, but I got a big promotion. The tables have turned. I'm now his boss. The situation has changed 180 degrees. Let's listen to how some other people use the expression, the tables have turned.
I used to be her boss at Twitter, so the tables have turned.
This year, the tables have turned a bit. Democrats have a slight advantage on that.
The tables have turned, Larry. We are here. We have our voices, and we are not going anywhere.
Let's read the paragraph again. Repeat after me. I think the tables are turning a little bit. Mr. Mashuri said, there are people who need to pay their bills and are realizing there might not be a million jobs out there. I just gave you a part of the article. I suggest that you read the article yourself. I've included the link in the description below. Okay, let's review the words you just learned. I will show them to you one by one, and I want you to ask yourself if you remember them. Also, you can pause and try to make your own sentence. That's a really important part of reaching fluency. As I always say, you need to go from passive knowledge means you understand the meaning, to active knowledge. And active knowledge means you're able to use the expression yourself when you're writing English and when you're speaking English. Okay, let's look at the words now. Do you remember turnover? How about sizzle? Frenzied. Wage. To abate. Billboard. Steep. To drive up. To sweeten the deal. Through the roof. To die down. To freeze. All together. The tables are turning, or the tables have turned. How did you do? Did you remember all of them? I suggest that you keep reading newspaper articles in English. It's the best way to improve your vocabulary. Native speakers understand all of those words, and I want you to reach that final level of fluency. Thanks for watching, and keep practicing your English. To get the two courses, the American Accent course and the 400 advanced words you must know for fluent English, go to AccurateEnglish.com.